Nashtaprayastu bhadresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Hare Krishna, everyone. Today's verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 11, verse 17. I will recite this verse 3 times, and then I will ask all of you to please join me in reciting this verse. And thank you all for joining today. Nimitta matram tatrasin nirguna purusha sabha Vyaktam idam vishwam yatra brahmati lohava Nimitta matram tatrasin nirguna purusha shabha Vyaktavyaktam idam vishwam yatra brahmati lohava Nimitta matram tatrasin nirguna purusha sabha Vyaktam idam vishwam yatra brahmati lohava. Can anyone please recite this verse as well?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Can I go through?
Yes, please.
Nimitta matram tatrashin nirguna purushasrava vyaktam idam vishwam yatra brahmeti lohavan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I am also trying.
Please try, Prabhuji.
Nimitra matram tatrashin nirgunah purushar shabha Vyaktam idam vishya yatra brahmoti lohavat.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Nimitta matram tatrashin nirgunah purushar shabha vyaktam idam vishwam yatra brahmati lohavat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, I want to try.
Yes,
Nimittamatram tatrashin nirguna purusha shabha Vyaktam idam visham yatra brahmati lohavat. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Anyone else wants to try? We'll go ahead with the translation. In the translation by Srila Prabhupada, my dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. He is the remote cause of the creation of this material cosmic manifestation. When he gives the impetus, many other causes and effects are produced, and thus the whole universe moves, just as iron moves by the integrated force of a magnet. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Anyone would like to read it, or should I read it?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I can read.
Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. How the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead works within this material world is explained in this verse. Everything is happening by the energy of the Supreme Lord. The atheist philosophers who do not agree to accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the original cause of creation think that the material world moves by the action and reaction of different material elements. A simple example of the interaction of elements occurs when we mix soda and acid, and the movement of the effervescence is produced. But one cannot produce life by such interaction of chemicals. There are 8.4 million different species of life with different wishes and different actions. How the material force is working cannot be explained just on the basis of chemical reaction. A suitable example in this connection is that of the potter and the potter's wheel. The potter's wheel rotates and several varieties of earthen pots come out. There are many causes for the earthen pots, but the original cause is the potter, who sets a force on the wheel. That force comes by his superintendence. The same idea is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Behind all material action and reaction, there is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna says that everything depends on his energy, and yet he is not everywhere. The pot is produced under certain condition of action and reaction of material energy, but the potter is not in the pot. In a similar way, the material creation sorry, is set up by the Lord, but he remains aloof. As stated in the Vedas, he simply glanced over it, and the agitation of matter immediately begins. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that the Lord impregnates the material energy with the part and parcel jivas, and thus the different forms and different activities immediately ensue. Because of the different desires and karmic activities of the jiva soul, different types of bodies and different species are produced. In Darwin theory, there is no acceptance of living entity as a spirit soul, and therefore his explanation of evolution is incomplete. Varieties of phenomena occurs within the universe on account of action and reaction of the three material modes. But the original creator or the cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is mentioned here as Nimitta Matram, the remote cause. He simply pushes the wheel with his energy, and according to Mayavadi philosopher, the Supreme Brahman has transformed himself into many varieties of form. But that is not the fact. He always transcendental to the action and reaction of the material gunas, although he is the cause of all causes. Lord Brahma says, therefore, in the Brahma Samhita 5.1, Ishvara Paramam Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adi Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. There are many causes and effects, but the original cause is Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna Matai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Om Ajnanatimandasya Gyananjanashalakya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitamscha Jivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evicha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. It was a wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada. And what I have done is I've tried to get the key themes out of the purport, and the whole, whatever I speak, I will be speaking around those key themes today. So please forgive me if I get anything wrong, and please feel free to correct me at the end if something is wrong. So the key themes of this wonderful verse is what Srila Prabhupada is explaining, is that Krishna is the original cause. And the philosophy behind this verse is about the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's about Achilta Bheda Abheda Tattva, which is inconceivable simultaneous oneness and difference of the Lord and his energies. And Srila Prabhupada also explains that the Lord indirectly causes the movement of the universe and its many causes and effects, like a magnet indirectly causes the movement of iron. Varieties of phenomena occurs within this universe on account of the actions and reactions of three material modes, but the original creator or the cause in the Supreme Personality is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It was mentioned here as Nimitta Matram. So that is translated here in this verse is as the remote cause. And he's always transcendental to the actions and reactions of the material gunas, and he is the cause of all causes. The first theme where Srila Prabhupada is explaining that Krishna is the original cause. So, and he also explains in the purport that we cannot produce life by interaction of chemicals or matter. As you know that there are 8.4 billion species of life with different wishes and different actions. And this can't just done by just chance, just by mixing some chemicals, we can't produce life. And this 8.4 million species, that number hasn't just come by chance, that also has got a reason. So Srila Prabhupada says that because there are 8.4 million different desires, that's why there are 8.4 billion species of life to accommodate those desires. And all based on the desire of the soul. So, and in the property mentioned, how the material force is working cannot be explained just on the basis of the chemical reaction. So there's definitely the original cause behind the creation, behind life, and how the life is produced. And he gives an example of the potter and the potter's wheel. So in that example, there are many causes for the earthen pots. And those many causes are secondary causes like earthen pots to produce the earthen pots, such as earth, water, wheel, machine, air, and many other secondary causes could be put together to produce a clay pot. But the original cause in that example is the potter. Without potter, a clay pot won't be produced just by itself. All those matters, all those causes, secondary causes are there, but we need a driving force. So who sets the force on the basically mentioned that the original cause is potter, who sets the force on the potter. So similarly, it is explained, so this analogy is explained, potter is compared to as Krishna. So without Krishna, nothing can move and nothing exists without him. So even though we have lots of ingredients, matters, energies, but it cannot run by itself without the direction of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. So from Bhagavad Gita 9.10, we understand that this material energy is working under Krishna's direction. It says this material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. So it is not independent. We cannot see Krishna, just like in the case of potter and the potter wheel. The potter is not in the pot, but still the pot is created. Similarly, we cannot see Krishna, but he exists. And many things we cannot see, but that doesn't mean no one is behind it. So just like every activity that is done, there is someone behind it. So Prabhupada also explains in the purport that the force comes by Krishna's superintendence. So everything depends on Krishna's energy. and yet he is not everywhere. So when we see a machine operating, it cannot operate without the supervision or without the will of the supervisor. So even in any organization, if there are a group of staff members running a business, there's always a head of the company. And even though we don't see the head and we see all the activities happening, but it is happening under the direction of that one head or the owner. So there's always someone directing the action or is in charge of it. So therefore, behind all material action and reaction, there is Krishna, as the force comes by his superintendence. Another theme, the philosophy presented in this verse is Achinta Veda Veda Tattva, which is inconceivable simultaneous oneness and difference of the Lord and his energies. So there is oneness between the Lord and his energies, but there's also a difference. When we try to speak about the oneness and the difference, we also have to remember that it is inconceivable, which is achintya. We read in the purport that original cause is the potter, in the example of potter as he who sets a force on the wheel. This explains the inconceivable potency of the Lord, that the material creation is set up by the Lord, but he is still aloof. Just like the pot is produced under certain conditions of actions and reactions of material energy, but the potter is not in the pot. And we continuously try to conceive what which is inconceivable. But the fact of the matter is that which is inconceivable can only be conceived by the mercy of the inconceivable Lord. We cannot approach the complete understanding of that which is inconceivable with our mundane mind and intelligence. One may think, by the process of approaching him through logic and arguments, we could get to a conclusion, or simply by studying the Vedas. But we cannot understand this inconceivable part with our logics and arguments or philosophy. But this doesn't mean that we don't need to study philosophy. We should study philosophy, but the mood should be that we want to understand philosophy of how Lord is one with and how Lord is different with everything, with the purpose that will bring us closer to Krishna. So the more we know about Krishna and his inconceivable potencies, the more we begin to realize our limitation, that, we can never know anything. And the moment we realize our limitation, that is a good basis to qualify us, that, I cannot understand Krishna with my mundane mind. And the only way to understand Krishna is with unalloyed devotional service or with our love. So if we try to understand Krishna simply with the mind, but still haven't developed love for him, then it is very difficult to understand him. And we may get confused and may deviate from the path of the devotional service. Therefore, we definitely need the mercy, and the mercy is required to understand Krishna. And we can't do that all by ourselves with our mundane mind. And to understand which is inconceivable can only be conceived by the inconceivable mercy of the Supreme Lord. And by the mercy of the Lord, one can be able to understand and capture Krishna's attention. So we have been talking about Lord's inconceivable energies and potencies. So let's see some of the examples which Krishna has explained in Bhagavad Gita, and what are his inconceivable potencies. So he mentions in Bhagavad Gita that he pervades the entire universe in his unmanifest form, and all beings are in him, but he is not in them. He's aloof from all the material creation, and everything happens just by his will. At the end of millennium, all material manifestations enter into his nature. He creates everything again at the beginning of millennium. The whole cosmic order is under Krishna, and under his will, it is automatically manifested and annihilated. He is not bound by any of these material activities. He is neutral. And this is quite a key one, theme from the purport, that he is the remote cause, nimitta matram, which is explained or translated as the remote cause in this verse. And this verse also explains how Krishna is never contaminated by the modes of material nature. He is the remote cause of the creation of this material cosmic manifestation. So although he is cause of all causes, sarva karana karanam, and everything that exists, all living entity, material energy, spiritual energy, all manifestation are coming from him. So he is Ishvara, Parama, Krishna, the supreme controller. Although he is the supreme cause of all causes, everything that happens in this material world happens by his will. He is always aloof to it. Now one may think that if Lord is aloof, then how is everything being done? So to understand the creation, he's not involved in creation and he's not involved in maintenance. So Lord Vishnu is involved in maintenance and Lord Brahma is involved in creation. However, the ingredients that Lord Brahma uses for the creation also comes from Krishna. So the original cause is Krishna. And Krishna is manifesting through his different expansions of Purusha avatars. We have got Mahavishnu, Karna Dakshaya Vishnu, Garbha Dakshaya Vishnu, Shiro Dakshaya Vishnu. The innumerable universes are generated from the skin holes of Karna Dakshaya Vishnu. And in each of the universes, the Lord enters as Garbha Dakshaya Vishnu. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 28, is a verse that says, Ete Chamsa Kalapumsa Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam. So all these different manifestations comes from Krishna, but Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam. So he is the original personality of Godhead. So although he is the cause of all causes, he is not involved in the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of material cosmic manifestation. But he is the remote cause because nothing can happen without him. And from Bhagavad Gita in 7.7, I understand that everything is resting on Krishna's energy, as the verse says, that everything is resting on Krishna's energy. As it says, everything rests upon Krishna as pearls are strung on a thread. So, however, we cannot see the thread, just like we cannot see Krishna and this whole creation. So, similarly, we may be able to see some of Krishna's energy, but not Krishna himself. So to understand Krishna means we also need to understand Krishna along with his energies, because his energies are eternal. So why they are eternal? Why his energies are eternal? Because it is manifested and unmanifested, and manifested and unmanifested throughout the whole creation since time immemorial. So there's no beginning to his energies. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna has no beginning, and same applies to his energies. So he has no beginning. And this is inconceivable. That how can something has no beginning? If you think stars, but how come this? So that is the inconceivable potency of Krishna. So Krishna's energy are spread throughout the entire universe, entire creation. When Krishna creates, he doesn't transform himself, he transforms his eternal energies, which are always separate from him. It says this earth, water, fire, air, ether are my separated energy. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 7, he says, the living entity is the fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord eternally. So, therefore, the understanding of Achinta Veda Veda Tattva, which is inconceivable, simultaneous oneness and difference of other living entities in relation to the Lord, one need to know that the living entities have always been existing. They are eternal. So one may ask that if they are eternal, then why there was a fall? So I heard in one lecture, Prabhupada gave a good explanation to this, that when the house is burning down, what do you want to ask for the fire? You will immediately want to get out of the house. So Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, if one gives up such doubts, then one can perform devotional service. Otherwise, there will always be a series of arguments. And we have to give up the doubts to serve Krishna. And then there is one more verse, and Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 7. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt. So we have to at least factually be convinced of the different opulences of the Lord to be able to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport of that verse that if one knows factually how God is great, then naturally he becomes a surrendered soul and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord. So it's very important that we factually and at least understand the opulence of the Supreme. And when we factually know the opulence of this Supreme, then there is no alternative but to surrender to him. So we can get this factual knowledge from the descriptions in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and many other literatures. So that's why studying scriptures is quite important to sharpen our intelligence and also gain that factual knowledge so we can have some level of surrender to Krishna. So how do we get Krishna's mercy? After knowing all this, it's important to get his mercy to understand his inconceivable energy, or to understand him. So in Brahma Samhita, start with this point. In Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. There are many causes and effects, but the original cause is Sri Krishna. That refers to Nimit Matram. So as I mentioned that in this verse, Prabhupada has referred the remote cause as Nimit Matram. And in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse 33, Krishna says to Arjuna that Nimitta Matram Bhavasabhya Sachin. So just become the instrument. And this Nimitta Matram in verse 11.33 from Bhagavad Gita, same word is used here, it is Nimitta Matram, which means the cause. And in practical terms of Krishna is saying, you just become the instrument, Arjuna. So he says to Arjuna that I am the cause, the ultimate cause, but you just work under my direction. Similar to how the material energy is working under the direction of Krishna. So, and we see in verse 7.18, Krishna explains that this divine energy of mine, consisting of three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who surrenders onto me can easily cross beyond it. So the principle of working under the direction of spiritual master or direction of an authority is the principle of release from this material illusion and this material energy. So that's why we need to perform the devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master and under his guidance or the guidance of an authority. We can't perform devotional service independently. And we need to receive the inconceivable mercy of the Supreme Lord to be able to understand Krishna and capture him. And I say capture, not really capture in material sense, basically to serve him. So we can understand this through the story of Mother Yashoda. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Mother Yashoda's love and her determination to serve her son is actually what qualified her for his mercy, for Krishna's mercy. So when Krishna saw how much Mother Yashoda was laboring to tie him up, he allowed to be tied at the end, looking at the hard work and the dedication and her sincere effort to serve him. So the two potencies, so initially he couldn't be tied up because he wanted to play. And the two potencies that manifested at that time that stopped Krishna to be tied. So one is his Sancha Sankalpa Shakti and other is the Vibhuti Shakti. So what happens is whenever Krishna desires, his energies starts acting. So he doesn't have to work hard to make things happen. So in his world, his thinking is reality. So all he has to do is desire, and his energies will be available to serve him and will work according to his will. So Mother Yashoda got rope after rope, and it always got short. She couldn't tie it up. And this is because Krishna's energies were working as per his desire. And with this example, Krishna showed that it is not by some external arrangement we can tie him up. So the impersonalists think that they can understand Krishna by the strength of their intelligence, which is not possible. And Srila Prabhupada mentioned that you can travel the speed of light for millions of years and never be able to approach Krishna. So Krishna displayed his mercy to Mother Yashoda in this example because she was ready to do anything. She was working so hard in spite of all gopis telling her to give up. So Krishna saw the hard labor of Mother Yashoda and her love, and because of that, his Kripa Shakti manifested. And when Kripa Shakti manifested, all other energies that were stopping Krishna to be tied up, they vanished. And Krishna's heart melted to see the love of Mother Yashoda and how much she was trying to please him. So only by his mercy, he got tied in that example. So in conclusion, you can say that there's one more verse in Bhagavad Gita 10.10. You can understand from that where it says, to those who are constantly devoted to serving Krishna, serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So if we want to serve Krishna without doubt, we should accept him as who he is. One of his quality is that he is inconceivable. We shouldn't try to make him conceivable with our limited understanding, with our mundane mind. So we will only understand him when he reveals himself, not by any other means. So here I was listening to one lecture by His Holiness Niranjana Swami, where he explained the mood. He explained that if we keep a mood that he is inconceivable, but I'll serve him anyway, and will never give up chanting his names and continue to chant, then with this approach, Krishna will become so pleased that my devotee is accepting me as I am. And many times we see that devotees are chanting for many years and they think they want some magic to happen. But if that magic doesn't happen, we don't need to worry about it. It just needs to continue serving. It says constant devotional service is important. So he becomes purchased with that constant devotional service. and captured by that love. So this is how to get Krishna's mercy. Unless we get a drop of Krishna's mercy, we can never know the greatness of his personality. So this is the philosophy behind this verse. Philosophy is, of course, can't capture Krishna, but the only thing that will help us to get Krishna's mercy is our sincere desire to please him. Thank you, everyone. If anyone have any questions or comments, please let me know.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
What a
Krishna.
beautiful class. So many examples and reference texts gives a clear indication of how to get Krishna's mercy. A wonderful explanation. I just heard for the first time from you. You are so determined to express your ideas through the Shastras and your experience of various listenings from others. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, everyone. We still got a few minutes. Anybody like to contribute in their reflection, comments, question, queries? Please go ahead. We still got time. Thank you. Anybody else want to comment?
Thank you, Mataji, for a wonderful class. Really, very nice points and very nice examples. Will stick with us for the day. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Mataji. There doesn't seem to be any more queries, so we'll end the class here. Her Grace Ananglata Mataji ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Go.
Dear Prabhupada,
One checker Padruvesha
Kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो
vaishnavebhyo
नमो नमः
अनंत कोटि
कोटि
वैष्णव
वैष्णव
की
की
जय।
जय
हर कृष्ण अनंगलता माता जी की जय।
Dear Prabhupada, ki jai.
Jai.